Hi everyone, my name is Brooke and today I'll be showing you how to make one of my favorite recipes, which is baked eggplant parmesan. So to start, I have two medium-sized eggplants here that I already washed and sliced into pieces, and then I just patted them dry. In this bowl here, I have 2 eggs cracked, and then some other ingredients that I have measured out already are 1 cup of plain breadcrumbs. I have half of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. We'll need a total of a full cup for this recipe, but we'll only need half of the Parmesan cheese now, and then we'll use the other half later. And then I also have half a teaspoon of sea salt, about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 2 tablespoons of water, and then I have some salt and pepper to taste, and you'll also need about 2 cups of shredded mozzarella cheese, a 24-ounce jar of marinara sauce, some cooking spray, 2 baking sheets lined with parchment paper like I have here, and then a glass dish to bake it in. So to start, we are going to mix together our 1 cup of breadcrumbs, and then we're going to take the half of a cup of grated Parmesan cheese. We're going to take the half of the teaspoon of sea salt, and I'm just putting these all in a bowl together. We're going to take I already measured out 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and we're going to mix these together. All right, so then what we're going to do is whisk together our 2 eggs and the 2 tablespoons of water. And I chose these 2 more shallow bowls. That way it'll be easier to dip my eggplant in. And then we're going to season this lightly with some salt and pepper. So now that this is all whisked together, we are going to take each eggplant piece and we're going to dip it in on each side. Then we are going to move it over to here, and then we're going to sprinkle the breadcrumbs on top on the other side and try to get both sides and all around it. So then once it's coated like this, we are going to put them over on the baking sheet, which I forgot to mention before, but I did spray the baking sheets already with the cooking spray, just very lightly. All right, so here I just have a few eggplant pieces left. It does take a little bit of time to cover and coat each piece, so I just now preheated the oven to 425, so that way by the time I'm done with the rest of these, our oven will be hot and ready to go. So while I do the rest of these, I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of background on the dish. So like I said before, eggplant parmesan, it's a traditional Italian dish. It was named after the province of Parma, which is in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. And that's also where Parmesan cheese was first invented. So you could see how both were kind of named after the city there in that sense. A lot of the ingredients used in this dish are very traditional Italian ingredients. So we have our 2 kinds of cheese that we're using. We have our marinara sauce, which has like tomatoes in it. And then you guys might also be familiar with like a variation of this dish, which is chicken parmesan. It uses pretty much all the same ingredients, except we have chicken instead of eggplant pieces. And then a few other very traditional Italian dishes that you guys might be familiar with are lasagna, which is pretty much, it's very similar to this dish. It uses noodles though, and then it alternates layering. So that's like what we're gonna do in this dish as well, but it uses noodles, mozzarella cheese, usually ground up beef, marinara sauce, and some other cheeses, and it creates like a layering effect. You might also be familiar with risotto, which is a rice dish that uses a creamy sauce made of butter, onion, usually white wine, and Parmesan cheese. Or there's pasta visual, which is another Italian dish, which is an Italian soup made with pasta, garlic, olive oil, and beans. So now that I am just about, I have one more piece left. Now that I'm just about done, I'm going to put these in the oven. My oven is nice and heated. We're going to put them in the oven for a total of 30 minutes. However, at 15 minutes, we're going to flip each eggplant piece. Alright, so I just wanted to show you guys what one of the trays looks like before going in the oven, and I'm also going to give them a light spray on top as well. And now I'm going to pop them in the oven. Okay, so I did just take my eggplant pieces out of the oven. Again, the oven was set to 425, and I still have it set because once we layer everything in the glass dish, it's going to go right back in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. They went in for a total of 30 minutes. I flipped them all at 15 minutes, so about halfway through. And yeah, this is how they came out. If you look closely, you can see that they're like nice and crisp on the outside, but they're still a little squishy on the center. That's exactly how you want them to be. So yeah, again, just one of my favorite parts about this dish is how we bake the eggplant pieces in the oven. A lot of other eggplant Parmesan recipes will use like a frying method to do the eggplant pieces, where you put oil in a pan on the stove and do it that way and cook each piece, or even like a deep frying method. So I definitely prefer this baking method because it saves a lot of fat in the recipe. And a recipe making this dish that's lower in fat is a lot easier to digest. And a dish higher in fat, you also have to watch your cholesterol levels for a person. So, which again is just another health factor that plays into frying the eggplant pieces. So I think that baking the dish actually comes out a lot tastier. It makes the eggplant taste like more fresh and crisp, and I definitely prefer it this way. Okay, so now we're gonna start with the layering of the dish. So we're gonna start with our jar of marinara sauce. I'm not gonna measure this out because I know we're gonna use this whole jar. So what I'm first gonna do is put a little bit in the bottom of the pan, just a nice light layer. Then I'm gonna put a layer of the eggplant pieces in. I'm gonna put another layer of marinara sauce on there. Then I'm gonna come in with our mozzarella cheese, which this bag is approximately 2 cups, which is exactly what we need. So I know we're gonna use about half of it right then. And then we're gonna use half of this, the rest of the half of cup of Parmesan cheese from earlier. Earlier we used the half of a cup, and now here's the other half. And then we have this lightly dried basil, which I went to about 4 or 5 different grocery stores this week looking for fresh basil leaves, and I could not find them anywhere. So we're just gonna use this as a substitute. It's lightly dried basil. We're just gonna sprinkle it on, and then we'll start with our other layer. So let's get started. So we are going to lightly layer the bottom of this pan. All right, now we are going to come in with a layer of our eggplant pieces. All right, so this is what it looks like now, and now I'm going to add another layer of marinara sauce to it. Here is our dish after the layer of marinara sauce went on, and now I'm going to use about 1 cup, so half of the bag of the mozzarella cheese. Here is our pan with the mozzarella, and now I'm just going to add about half of this of the Parmesan to it. And I'm going to sprinkle with the lightly dried basil. So we're just going to kind of sprinkle this on, and then we're going to start with the next layer of eggplant. Okay, so as I add on the next layer of eggplant pieces, I just wanted to go over some of the components of the dish. So it is a pretty well balanced dish. You can see we have a dairy source from the cheeses going in. We have a vegetable source from the eggplants. There's also some tomato in the tomato sauce. And we also have a source of carbohydrates from the breadcrumbs used. So this dish could be served by itself. It's a pretty filling dish by itself, but if you wanted to serve it with a side dish, I would suggest using like Italian green beans, roasted broccoli, whole grain pasta, or Italian roasted potatoes, as these side dishes would pair well with the dish. Alright, so here you saw me do the second layer of eggplant pieces, and then I finished it off with the rest of the marinara, the rest of the mozzarella cheese, the rest of the measured out Parmesan cheese, and sprinkled the basil on top again. So now it is going to go back in the oven uncovered for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so I just took our final product out of the oven. You guys could see how the cheese really melts over and how all of the layers really melt together. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I hope that you not only enjoyed learning how to make this dish, but also enjoyed learning about the history and the background of this dish in Italy, some of the health benefits of baking the eggplant pieces in the oven rather than cooking them on the stove in a lot of oil, and the different parts of this dish that make it a well-balanced meal on its own, but also heard of some side dish suggestions if you choose to serve it with a side dish as well. So I hope you guys plan to make this recipe in the future and you really enjoyed the video. And again, just thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to give you guys a look at the final product so you could really see how everything melts together and how the cheese melts over. Again, I hope that you really enjoyed watching my video, and thank you so much for watching.